Hello and welcome to Weekly Open. I'm Brian here with Don and Cred. I have a sunburn, even though I was in the sun for, I feel like, no more than an hour yesterday. Guess that means winter might be over. Don't know about this winter, though. We'll have to see. We got everybody back today. Cred, you're on the left. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's supposed to be a small week, according to DB. So if we can get away with that, I'd be terribly grateful. How are you?
Like small week? Like
I think
or,
just
or
uneventful,
a
synonymously.
small
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
Oh,
Not an Investbro week. No, there's only like this Tesla
that
Investor Day on Wednesday, and then that's it, as far as I'm aware. But not that we
gotcha.
we find it difficult to generate our own headlines, but
That's right.
as far as macro goes, no adversaries this week.
This is the week Barry will choose to come out and give us some pain. Don, how are you?
Good, good. Finally recovered from my sticky cold, which is quite nice. Feeling alive again. Which, I mean, honestly, when you've been like completely dead for 2 weeks, this is heaven to me. So let's moon the market on top, and I'm gonna be forever grateful.
I should have added more polonium to your tea, but I'll
You
get it
didn't.
right next time.
You didn't quite manage, yeah.
Yeah, the dosage was all wrong.
I just want to say that when I tweet out, the same thing I tweet every week from the Weekly Open account live now with Don Cred Ledger, it defaults first when I type Don to Donald Trump, then the person that is like one of the only people that account follows and that I mention every single week. So I'm blaming Elon for his politicization of Twitter.
I mean, it'd be quite funny if you tagged him and be like, "Oh."
live now with crew, real Donald Trump. Well, Don, you're saying before the show that you have just capitulated long-term thinking and you're basically day trading / swing trading now. So how's that going?
Going good. I mean, I'm not like, I still have my swing trading idea, and I'm gonna follow that. But I've been trading around a little bit around that swing trade idea. I mean, I bought Bitcoin around 16K. I sold it, like at least half of it at 25, and rebought 23. So doing all right on that front. Reason being, like, why I'm trading it a little bit more active now is just that my accountants basically told me that depending on how much size I do, there's a good chance that I'm just not going to get through with I'm holding this for a year, because they'll just like the tax office will just say this is too big amount, so that has to be a corporation thing. As in, I would have to have a business
in our faces this early in the morning, Cred.
I know, it's so funny, isn't it? It's like the show starts like, I'm doing well, I bought the bottom, sold the top, bought the bottom again, and I am too rich to be an individual. I am a company now. Thank you. I feel great. It's like, okay, fuck it. Like, why do we do this show? Just like get this dude to draw the box, tell us what the market's gonna do. Ledger and I are like the ugly backup dancers who are there for diversity, and then let's just move on with our lives. It's absurd at this point.
I mean, my hot streak's gonna end eventually. Just
Don's like, nothing you said here is false, and I will accept.
Yes, exactly. Also, like, if you've been following him for any meaningful amount of time, the commitment issues that he has shouldn't be any type of surprise. Like, for example, he'll draw insane targets and then like manage the trade beautifully, like in between, and then time-wise as well. He's like, oh, I'm holding for a year, and like 2 weeks later, he's taken 50 trades. So like a lot of the pushback that happened early on was hilarious because people were just thinking it's like a set and forget type of thing. It's like, no, this guy is thoroughly addicted. Like, he will trade around this. Don't believe his lies for German tax reasons or whatever, you know?
I'm also being bullied in the chat already. Ledger, please don't be bullish. They're treating me like I treat Gainsey's roll bit bets.
Oh man, yeah. Ledger, you actually caught a stray on one of our shows as well, because we were talking about coin stock, and some guy was like, "Oh, I need to hit up Ledger," when he was telling his dad that coin was a good buy at $100 or whatever, and I was like,
I said coin was a good value below $100, and when it's $400, I will remind your reply guys of that being true.
But also, Ledger, the way you skirt around that is you said it was a good buy, not a good buy, and they clearly just misunderstood and misled you. That's how you circumvent that one.
Yeah, but Dad, you got to manage your trade, just like Don. Listen to the show.
So, Dad, there's this duck on the internet.
Oh man,
Oh.
numbers going up this morning, so we're all in good humor.
Yes.
Don, do you want to give us a lay of the land? Did you just make that box up there, or is that your predetermined support line?
Oh, that box
Good
was...
question. That's a great question. The way it works is this guy will just like shove in a ton of size on a red candle and then draw the support after the fact. Be like, you know what? This is a pretty good level. I'm like, motherfucker, you didn't have that 5 minutes ago, and now suddenly it's like this amazing daily level you're buying. It's yeah. I'm done. I'm muting myself.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I mean, I had it on before I bought. And then I was like, oh, it's actually a good area to buy. I think like I'm gonna buy the middle of it roughly, which seemed like 23K seemed roughly ideal. And I mean, I didn't buy the bottom on this one. It just got close enough. But it looks like a nice area to make a higher low, in my opinion, right? So this, and I mean, excuse me for starting with the daily and then going to the higher time frames, but I mean, I just started already. So yeah, whatever. So we had like this accumulation here. We had the massive rally to the upside with no pullbacks, right? So we had the first one that front ran support and just completely giga rallied again to 25K, where I mean the S&P just ran into trouble, right? And in general, like this started looking exhausted, and it traded exhausted too. So we got a little bit of pullback into, in my opinion, the best support level in that area. So it's just like, okay, the first time we front ran it, this time it looks like we're gonna hit it, but I don't think it's time just yet to break it. So that's why I bought it. And so far so good. Obviously can still break, and if it starts breaking, I think it makes sense to be cautious, because then we're running into an area where we're not making higher lows anymore, and we're coming back into this old range, right? So it's very, very close to at least short-term bullish invalidation, which made it really attractive. That's why I have this box. It's basically top of the range, just a little bit higher, because I thought like probably not going to hit the top of the range. It seems too far. But higher time frame wise, I mean, we're still at monthly resistance. That said, we're trading above it right now, and there's only 1 day and 9 hours remaining. So if we close above it, I could see a little bit of chop next month, but in general, I would expect up again. So I'm going to be quite happy with my positioning. The reason why I sold was basically because we're trading at 25K, and I knew that the monthly still had some time to go. So if it closed below this resistance, technically speaking, close at resistance, you're aiming for support, and that would be 19K, which just made sense to trade around, in my opinion. But like I said, given that whole like that we had this bounce now, and if we close higher, that's just going to be invalidated. And the weekly time frame, the same deal. Like why I sold 25K was basically because we closed this week at resistance and then traded quite high again and ran into those exhaustion candles on daily and lower time frames. So I was like, okay, fuck this. And then I sold, and then I started getting intense FOMO. I was like, I actually don't want to have any of this $30. I want to have some more crypto, and then I just bought back the first opportunity I got.
There's perfect timing this week in that the monthly close is Tuesday, and ETH Denver is this week, so we're guaranteed to just get wrecked at the beginning of the month, right?
Yeah, conflicting signals, right? Thing is, the conference, like the bearish conference thing, actually seems very real to me.
Yeah,
like I haven't meaningfully studied it, but from like going to a few and just historically, you remember consensus pump in like 2018, 2019,
oh, that was something
just
else.
like precursor for disaster.
During the bear market, like that consensus, Bitcoin was going down like $1,000 a day. It's just getting absolutely
consensus
nuked.
last year. Yeah. The last year one as well. I was there and I walked in. It was just like 2018 all over again. Like I walk into where the booths are and I see Avi Feldman there from now Golden Tree and Block Tower then. And he was like, this just feels like 2018. I don't know any of these companies, any of these people. Everyone's talking about like DAO tools and NFTs and
Who are
not
you building
price.
for?
Yeah, who are you building for? Exactly. No one talks about like macro or anything like that. I mean, probably for their benefit in the long term, but yeah, it was a bit of a weird feeling. So we've got conference confluence as what should have been the title coming up next week.
As a complete aside, I have a friend whose birthday is February 29th.
Man.
So this year they have no birthday. I'll have to ask them what day are they going to celebrate. But yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's every like third or fourth year then?
Fourth year. You are simultaneously one of the smartest and dumbest people I know. Yeah, it's leap years, man. You don't know what a leap year is?
I mean,
this in German schools.
That's exactly what I was talking about. It's every fourth year, no?
Yeah, you said every third or fourth. Like that's like this is
Yeah,
just something you know.
I was like, oh, I don't remember. I think it was.
He's always hedging, Ledger.
Yeah. You gotta hedge. You gotta hedge. Anyway,
exactly.
All right, you now are on the weekly chart.
Yes. I mean, that closed at resistance, but didn't really nuke too much. It's still below resistance, so yeah, that's it's not necessarily like a bullish signal here yet. So we want to see the monthly close above resistance, basically. If it closes below resistance, then we still have like a not so good weekly chart, and we could see some pullback. But in general, like it's not the worst looking chart on the low time frames. Just needs to basically push a little bit, because then the monthly is going to get invalidated. And I think if that's invalidated, the weekly doesn't stand a chance. And then we're on the way to the next resistance, which is 32K, which I would like. And I think it's
all the
quite
billionaires
reasonable.
are waiting for the monthly close before deploying. They're just
I mean,
just another day. Hold on, shake.
I mean, technically, I mean, just if you want to ignore all of that, right? And you can, and I think it's actually reasonable to make fun of it. It's been working really well, which is really odd.
Yes.
I never found the reason why any of this works, because it doesn't make sense to me, but it just does. But basically what we've had, right, if you just look at it completely without any lines, without anything, we had an impulse from the bottom, and then we had a consolidation up here that's actually pushing higher and higher. So like technically speaking, high time frame wise, this doesn't actually look bad. It just looks like a typical consolidation after a massive push upwards. And in general, when you have these massive pushes upwards, right, and you get a consolidation, that's usually like a good sign. You rarely get this, like even here, right, even in the bear market, or into when we're heading into the bear market, when you have these consolidations, high time frame, after a big push to the upside, you usually get at least the second leg, if the consolidation is at the high, right? So if the consolidation is basically you nuke and you have a consolidation and you kind of go up and then come back down, it's obviously a very different structure than you have a move up, you have consolidation, and then you can just move higher. So it depends on obviously where the move goes, but like in general, when you have these high time frame consolidations after push upwards, it's usually like a good sign, not a bad sign. So I wouldn't necessarily want to freak out too much. My bearishness was basically just, okay, we could maybe go to 19K and then go higher. So in general, I think we're going to go higher. I just don't know if it's going to be from 19K or from here.
And how much of a difference does it really make, right? Like in the grand scheme, if that's your higher time frame view, then you're sort of splitting hairs at a certain point, right? But you have to split hairs when you're on 1000x leverage. So I mean, that much is understandable for a lot of people like trading this. Also, just very quickly on the whole time frames thing, I still find it super strange when like crypto traders make this argument that, oh, your time frames are arbitrary and candle closes are arbitrary and the whole thing is arbitrary. Just look at the flow or all this other stuff. Like it's so strange, because if that system were completely useless, then no one would ever use it and it would have fallen out of fashion just so long ago, right? Like if the magnitude of the alpha decay reflected the argument that was being made against it, then we just wouldn't see that type of commentary on Twitter from traders whatsoever. I think the reason it works is because the markets is still very kind of technical oriented. A lot of the participants are also very technical oriented. And so when you look at a candle chart and have levels and have closes, that's a pretty straightforward way to infer consensus as to whether something's broken out, whether it's at resistance, which side is winning, so to speak. So you kind of find agreement there. Now, obviously, that does blow up when you have like failed breaks, etc., but those turn into setups in themselves. But I just find it very weird, just because it's simple. People want to hand wave away like levels and candlestick closes. Meanwhile, it's been working probably even since before we started, but like since 2017 and up to now, and still today, it's like a pretty decent starting point for looking at markets. I'm always very skeptical when people dismiss things that are simple, because I don't know, even a lot of complex solutions should be rather elegant in their simplicity a lot of the time. So don't be dismayed if you're as dumb as me, who likes candles and closes and lines and stuff.
I'm not dismayed. I think you're right. I just get a little. I get drawn by the wicks before they close. Like it can be a little scary. It's like you don't give it the time to close, so it's important to kind of wait for that actual candle to close, whatever time frame it is. Because in the middle of it, it's like, ooh, it looks like it's about to fall off a cliff, and then all of a sudden, get saved. But
I've seen that a lot. Yeah, with like weekly levels, the first test on the 5-minute pokes below, people are like, oh, it's over. It's like, shit, is it? Like we could be here for a week and not much has to change structurally. So that's always been quite weird. But also, like as Donna said, like higher time frame, like proper high time frame swing trading, if you're looking at daily, weekly, monthly, that can take days and weeks and months to unfold. And for most people, it's like a complete category error between how they engage the market, how often they trade, the timeframes they're observing versus trying to use those systems. Like if I were to misuse your system, I'm not going to criticize that as a fault of the system. That's my fault for not applying it correctly, right? But with like candle closes and stuff like that, people will misuse it and then use that as an argument for the system sucking, which is quite strange.
Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, if the whole like order flow, everything was so much better, why do I see a lot of them just short the bottom over and over and over again? Like, I don't know. It seems kind of odd. Like every system has obviously their flaws and their advantages, but it all depends on kind of who's using it. And there's a lot of discretion in any trading, right?
Yes.
So if you're not using discretion at all, you have to keep being on your toes because your alpha is just gonna go away constantly. I mean, there's few people that can do it, but I think like in general, like the way you use something is oftentimes more important than actually what you're using in trading, which is really like it's an odd thing to hear, it's an odd thing to say, but it's just how it is. Just gotta use it properly.
And like the intellectual hubris required to not know somebody's system and discretion within that system as to how they apply it, and to say that the system sucks is pretty impressive, right? Impressive in a negative way, because this stuff takes like, years to refine, and it's an ever-going process. Like if you don't know someone's system and you don't know how they operate their discretion within those parameters, like you can't just at an eyes sort of, at arm's length or just at a glance say that something sucks. That doesn't seem to be a kind of rigorous investigation, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Speaking of my system, it's the 200 week continues to kind of be a area of consolidation on the underside, resistance, if you will.
Just delete it, Ledger. Just take it off the chart and everyone will be better off, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, I've said this a lot, but I like when we have this consolidation and similar levels between a weekly moving average like this and a previous weekly level. So I'm still watching it, I guess is my point. And the candle closed right here. It found resistance at the 200 week, and I expect that continued consolidation here makes sense. But if you get above it, then this system would tell you should expect a thrust at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, can y'all keep talking? I'm trying to buy some tickets real quick.
ETH Denver. No, it's nice, like when you get confluence across systems, right? I like to sometimes peek at what the horizontal guys are doing, what the footprint, flow, market profile guys are doing. If that lines up with any moving average memes, you kind of get a sense of what type of participation you're going to see, especially when there's so much confluence. And I think that's why at the end of the day, like the horizontal stuff works rather straightforwardly. If you were to get all these people in the room, especially on a high enough time frame, like a weekly, daily, 4 hour, whatever, and you get your price action guys, horizontal, moving average, Bollinger Band, etc., they're not going to land at radically different areas for what's important, what isn't, where's the sort of edge of value, point of control, so on and so forth. You're going to end up in the same neighborhood. So yeah, I always like looking at that type of stuff.
What else interests you? ETH BTC, what?
I mean, ETH BTC is not one. It's still in the same range.
Don's like, I will not let go until it hits Ledger's pain point. That's how down there.
I mean, we've tested the upside of this thing a million times now, right? I mean, it's 7, and it's probably gonna hit it another time. But I think the next time might actually be the one where we break out. I would like it to go down, but at the same time, I'm holding some ETH, so maybe I would like it to go. It's a weird one. I think I'd be unhappy if it goes up, and I'd be unhappy if it goes down, which is usually the spot I want to be in. If I'm unhappy, no matter what happens, I'm not oversized in any way. So I mean, it's pain, but it's good pain. So that's kind of my ETH positioning. But yeah, it looks like it wants to go to the lower support levels. First 0.066, and then still down here, my favorite level. But I wouldn't want to like necessarily sit here, have no position in ETH, and then just stubbornly waiting for 0.057, because there's a chance it doesn't happen. So if we go to 0.066, I'm going to buy a little bit more ETH. If we nuke completely, I'm going to buy a shitload of ETH. And then I'm just going to go from there. So I don't want to be out of it entirely. I think it's a good thing to have, ETH generally. But yeah, I'm going to load up heavier if it goes down. And if it doesn't, I mean, I still have enough other crypto to kind of carry me over. But that's kind of my ETH BTC view. Oh yeah, I've written those off already. I don't even know what they're trading at, but I think they're up still, like quite a bit from where I've bought them. So
there you go.
But I'm just gonna ignore them. I set a few sell orders to get like the initial out, if it 3x's or 4x's, and then I'm gonna keep the rest. If Trump becomes supreme leader or something, I'm gonna sell them.
Oh my gosh!
I think we'll have bigger problems at that point.
No, I'm gonna sell the NFT, and then that's gonna nuke his image, because yeah, I'm gonna nuke the floor, and then he's gonna go from supreme leader back to
that's how you bargain your diplomatic immunity, Don. You're like, listen, I'm holding a lot of these things.
I mean, it's a good thing I have a lawyer on hand.
Exactly.
But yeah, on the ETH front, I think it's pretty boring. I don't think there's much happening, and there's probably not going to happen too much anyway. But once this goes, it's going to go hard. We're going to get like an ETH season. I think it's probably going to suck out liquidity out of other things, besides the flavor of the month, and would actually be quite nice. Like if you have these rallies that are Bitcoin led, which we've had the last few weeks, right? And then we have these rallies that are ETH led, and then we have altcoin season, or whatever you want to call it. Like, I like it that we add a little bit of variety to it. But yeah, right now it's just in a range, and it's been in the range since May 21. So there's not really that much to talk about.
Yeah, only a few things have changed since May 21. Last year specifically. Oh, also, Don, you mentioned like a flippening on, like a temporary flippening on ETH.
Oh yeah,
against Bitcoin. What was apart from engagement bait, what was the main thesis or driver there?
I mean, the main reason why I posted it was because I wanted to figure out if I needed to buy the support or the lower one, and I wanted to see how the
you were sentiment harvesting. Oh man,
but also I just think in general, like, you just look at this, and I think this trend line is going to continue holding. And in general, I mean, ETH's just in a strong uptrend, right? Bitcoin went from like nothing to 60,000, ETH outperformed. Bitcoin went from more than 60,000 all the way down to pretty much almost nothing again. And ETH still in the fucking same range that it was in when Bitcoin went to the highs. I mean, that's just absurd outperformance on ETH's part. And it's not necessarily something that we see, right? Because this basically went through an entire cycle and it outperformed Bitcoin both ways, on the upside and the downside, which just isn't really something that you get, which makes it pretty clear to me that you have to have ETH. It seems like people are valuing it highly and are not willing to let it go beyond like just like what Bitcoin's been losing, right? Like
Don,
Bitcoin goes.
you're ignoring the new paradigm of ordinals on Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, that makes such a big difference. Huh?
Udi will come on here and tell you why it does.
Yeah,
I mean, hey, a narrative is a narrative, right? Like, if they want to bring sort of smart contract functionality and NFTs to Bitcoin and try to fix the security problem in that way, or at least bring more attention to it, it's probably a net positive of some sort. I don't need Bitcoin to be some omni chain that can do everything, and it's got DeFi and it's NFTs and it's the censorship resistant store of value supposed to be gold analog thing. If it does just the boomer safe slow moving reserve asset of the space well enough, that's fine for me. I don't get why a lot of Bitcoiners have like proxy FOMO when they see all the activity on other chains saying, oh well, Bitcoin can do that as well. It's like, well, it doesn't have to, at least not for me.
Yeah. I do agree with that. I mean, it's nice. I think in general, it's nice that Bitcoin's moving again, like that they're actually like trying stuff, because they've just not been.
They need to.
Yeah. I mean, at some point they will have to, otherwise chain's just gonna die, right? Like if there's no rewards anymore, I mean,
taken over by Litecoin and ETH testnet.
Oh my god, the ETH testnet thing is so crazy, man.
It's quite funny.
I mean, Udi is saving Bitcoin, so we're obviously gonna be fine.
Yeah. I mean, Udi's the main character everyone anticipated. Honestly, he's better than all the other Bitcoin main characters. So,
which says something.
Thanks for giving me the grace of time to buy those tickets. I booked tickets for my kid's first NBA game ever. So, found a sweet deal for the first row, which I'm excited about. Not courtside. We're not that special, but found a good deal for first row tickets. So pumped.
Sweet.
So yeah, it's not a bear market everywhere. All right. So ETH, I mean, ETH USD still looks good. That ETH BTC chart does frustrate me infinitely, as you predicted. But I just feel like this thing's going to go at some point. And the moment you get lured into BTC, that's when it's going to happen. Or the moment I get lured into BTC, that's when it's
look, it's just one of those, we've been going sideways for 5 weeks, big move soon, draw an arrow in either direction, or just the right direction if you're Don, and enjoy,
Yeah, Don, just tell me what you're going to do, and then I'll just counter. Or I'm sorry, copy trade, not counter trade.
I was just about to say like this.
Oh, Freudian slip there, Ledger. Careful.
Someone's out looking for a fight. I think it's ETH looks good to me. I don't like the ETH USD chart. I've been hating it for a while. When you have ETH BTC in a range from 2021 till now, right? Like, what good does the ETH USD chart do really? Because everything is kind of reliant on Bitcoin. ETH BTC hasn't really done anything. It's been going up 20%, and then it's lost like the equal amount over and over and over and over again, right? So any kind of like any divergence from Bitcoin's just been like that. Like basically, this is what ETH's doing. Like it's kind of like moving like a wave, and then you have like a little bit of an odd chart, because Bitcoin's been quite clean, and that interference that you get from the ETH BTC chart just being completely all over the place, not doing much, makes the chart a little bit choppy, in my opinion. But it still looks okay. Like as long as we're trading above the 2018 all-time high, I don't really see much issue. And we we had like a little bit of a red week last week that got bought up quite nicely. And I mean, it looks good to me. I'm not really hating on this. As
It's
long
just
as
an
we're
inside
trading
week
above,
as well, right?
yeah, and as long as we're
Right.
trading above 1.5k, it's good. No, all good.
Yeah, it's like an inside week just caused so much panic, for lack of a better term. But like the high time frames really haven't been moving around all that much, right? It's like coming into monthly close, it's like pushing around the level. Weekly, sort of inside week on both BTC and ETH. Daily, just like shallow pullback. There hasn't been a real kind of structural. I mean, just look at that weekly chart. It's been in the range for 5 weeks. You know, we're all
Yeah.
losing our minds.
I wonder if BTC ends up kind of staying sideways for a while. If ETH has a chance to break out, but also like, just looking at a bunch of altcoins, so several things seem relatively primed to me. And it's a bit different narrative than what I've been feeling, which is basically the one here, the one there that kind of steals all the attention. I wonder if we could get a general kind of 20 or 30% move in kind of the decent tier, top, high cap type stuff.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at Atom as an example right now, but it's not just Atom. It's funny.
Oh, that's cursed, Ledger.
I know.
The Atom chart is so cursed.
Look at it. It's at the average price of its entire existence. That 200-week moving average just showed up. Imagine you're an Atom.
That's it. We've solved Atom. We found fair value. Like, let's just move on to something else. We fixed it.
Yeah, but it's not just that. I mean, I'm looking at a handful of things that have been languishing for a bit. Some of the DeFi stuff that's out there. There was another one that I was looking at that I liked even better than this, but I can't remember what it is. Maybe it was, I don't know. I'll have to.
DYDX?
I forget where I was. I still think ENS has a chance to go, but all of these have been consolidating, but not making new lows. Like been in that range for a long time, and I wonder if some of them can make that push. At the same time, like maybe it'll just be the same things that have moved before, like that have previously been performing well. So like Stargate, for example, and I own a bunch of this because I'm an investor in Layer Zero, but like this thing's been moving like crazy, and it looks like, I mean, do you just stick with the things that have been running for what's to run next? Maybe that's the choice too. I don't really know. But when I looked across the board, like Wi-Fi has been, look at that, it's been pretty quietly doing a thing. Yeah, so I don't know. Just seems like some of these. Oh, I know what it was. It was Synthetics. Here it is. Thank you. Yeah, Synthetics looks pretty good to me. Like on this daily chart, clearing its 200, a consolidation that it's kind of pressing the top of now. And I don't know anything about Synthetics. Don't own any Synthetics. I don't know how liquid it is. Charts like these sometimes give me a level of excitement because they're if Synthetics is $6 instead of 250 or 270, that no one blinks. You know what I mean? Like it means basically nothing in terms of the global market. So if you can find a good chart that looks like it wants to have some kind of reason to move, or maybe there's some news driven catalyst for it, then maybe you could get some of these rotations. And there's some crap. Sushi's another one, and Sushi's got the Coinbase base. We haven't even talked about this, like the base chain thing. So like Sushi's one of the proven dexes, ZRXs as well. This is just like super sideways, but could that pick up some steam and get some narrative? But I like Synthetics the best out of those. And then some look like trash. I mean, Solana. Don, you were talking about how you were interested in it, but I just think it looks rough. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't want to buy it here either.
Yeah, you buy it higher, right? Like it's more interesting at like $30 to me than it is at 23.
Yeah,
Or at
I
least
mean,
that's my personal opinion.
It was super discounted due to the whole like FTX going insolvent and disappearing, right? So people are just like shorting Solana, and it bounced massively, and now it's basically back to where it was before all of that happened. So if you're buying, I mean, it's not really discounted anymore. You're basically buying because you like Solana, and I mean that's fair enough. If you like Solana, buy it, but it's not like you should be expecting massive moves out of this thing anymore. I think if it dips big time, like if it dips to $14, there's potential again, right? It can easily double or even triple, but like this, I would buy it higher. Yeah. I don't
No,
really
you
see
wouldn't,
the.
Don. Let's be real.
I mean,
I've never seen you buy anything higher in your life.
I would advise to buy higher.
Oh, in a
Tell someone
non-financial way. Yeah.
in a non-financial way, and then I would sit there coping because I didn't, and everyone else is making a shitload of money. That's what I would do.
Beautiful.
Yeah. At the same
You're
time, I was
talking
talking
my
about,
love language now.
I was talking about like some of those that haven't moved, and to give caution to the same thing. Like, oof. Oh, this is a 5-minute candle. Who cares? To me,
It's
it's
the
like,
daily.
uh, I've talked recently on this show about like trying to avoid super laggards. So like that sushi example, you need something that's a reason to do it. And in Solana, I don't see that right now. Like if it's going to be down, dinking around, but without a narrative, I'm not interested. If there's a narrative that can coincide with like this kind of ceiling tapping consolidation, then I can get really interested in that for a short-term trade, not for a necessarily long-term trade, but for a short-term trade. And that's what I'm looking through when I kind of cycle through those.
I think we're still in narrative season anyway. Like, I don't think you're gonna get much outperformance on something that doesn't really have a narrative, unless it's super super mispriced, right? So like if you see a chart, you're like, oh, this looks good, but it hasn't really done anything. If there's no reason for it to do anything, it's probably not gonna do anything until something else does a thing. So like if you're buying the laggards, you're just gonna sit there being mad that you didn't buy the flavor of the month. And I mean, I've been trading around a little bit. I've been trying to get into Lido, like Lido, whatever, a couple times, and got front ran badly every time. So I know how it feels, right? Like I'm sitting there and I know that this thing is hot. I'm trying to get in on a dip, and every time it approaches my bids, it just goes up without filling me. And then I buy something else instead because I'm an idiot, and if it goes up before my bids, it can go fuck itself. But the problem is, it's me that's struggling, because obviously, like I'm getting like 10% somewhere else, and this thing goes up 50. It's just how it goes.
And this was such a sensible move. Like it was very cheap, and then it's like, oh yeah, the liquid staking derivatives is going to be a big narrative with ETH 2.0 stuff, and there you go.
Yeah,
it's
it's all you need.
Yeah.
Legion Spartan, shout out.
Yeah, did he
pretty adamant?
Call that?
Yeah.
He was shilling it hard at like $1. So
good.
Big props. Yeah.
Thing is, with these altcoins, like you'll look at stuff that's lagging or hasn't moved yet in the context of your watch list, and you think, oh, I might want this, and maybe it'll catch up. But for every one coin like that is on your watch list, there's maybe 10, 50, 100 others that are in the exact same position that just haven't moved, right? So you're dealing with a skewed sample, because a lot of the time we sort of anchor ourselves to our watch lists and look at, oh, maybe this will catch up, this has been lagging, and maybe some relative strength, etc. But you can basically multiply that by 10 almost, and that gives you a sort of more accurate picture of just how many laggards there are. So that should make you even more cautious on average in this environment, at the very least, of punting those. And it's not like the number of coins, like altcoins that have been moving, has been super, super low. Like, Lido, Optimism, Aptos, bloody Phantom, GRT. There's been a bunch of Litecoin. There you go, Don. I saw your angry DM telling me to mention Litecoin. There's been enough, right? So I think like only when you're really starved for some sort of trade do you start looking at laggards, and that's why it tends to be a top signal a lot of the time when like Dino coin garbage towards the top starts pumping, because like you've literally run out of coins to pump. That's why it's like a good risk off signal. But in these conditions, forcing it even more so is I think tricky. So yeah.
There's a couple macro things might be worth looking at.
Ew.
Yeah. We talked about this potential. I might even have a flex squiggle in here. I do. This potential kind of
nice return.
Yeah, returns mean reversion type of setup for continued consolidation. I've got a faster moving average on here now as well. That's right where it stopped. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think this Dixie is going to go anywhere super fast personally. So I can personally see where this just keeps going sideways from here, and it takes a while to determine a direction like sub 100, above 110. I could just imagine a year-long consolidation for the Dixie, but still impacting a lot of other things along the way. For example, like oil looks like it's got a pretty negative consolidation here.
Yeah.
Looks like it could go to, what is that, 66? And then it's not exactly going to look good at that level. Kind of this long cycle back down of the move, the slow move up. That would have a positive impact on inflation if oil continued to get cheaper. And that's different than my fundamental belief about oil. But when I look at the technicals, it doesn't look great, and I wonder how crowded that trade got as well.
Yeah.
But
Don, you had a dollar level from like the 1950s, didn't you? That you were tweeting out and looking at.
Yesterday, actually, I was tweeting yesterday that I thought that the dollar top is close or in, and yeah, we basically, I mean, it's not 1950, it's 2000, 2001, but it's like it's a quarterly chart, right? And if you guys remember, anyone that's watched the show, I don't think I even tweeted that out, the quarterly chart.
We just talked about it here.
Yeah, I mean, like when we hit this, I was like, maybe like this is a really good resistance. I could see it pull back. We did, right? We nuked completely.
It was super strong resistance, and I was looking at 120 as like a magnet because of the top of that box. And all of a sudden, Don was like, "I don't know. I think maybe this 114 level is like Kiko top."
Yeah, it Giga nuked, and it ran all the way down to support, right? That old range that we have in here. And we bounced from that range and we ran back into resistance. And I think we could be here for quite a while. Like this could be just a thing where we're like in here for a year or 2 or 3 even.
People really underestimate the potential for currencies to take a long time to do something.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like this is the dollar index, right? I mean, it's not done anything. Like it's not done. Like this is just literally sideways macro. I mean, obviously there's a big difference, right, between 70 and 120. But if you would talk about Bitcoin, that it went up like 2x in the last 50 years, everyone would laugh, right? So the dollar index, so as in like the dollar in comparison to other currencies, I mean, it's not really been anything. And so expecting it to go sideways is more than reasonable, I think. And we're in an area that would make sense to kind of drive it sideways. So I'm not expecting too much from this anymore.
Yeah. I don't see anything attractive in traditional markets. Like I look at monthly indexes, I look at weekly indexes, gold, oil, nothing looks very investable to me.
The S&P hit support though.
Yeah,
it's one of the reasons why I bought back. Basically this old weekly support level. But it also looks like it's just gonna go sideways, right? It's odd. Like the S&P looks to me like it's gonna go sideways. The dollar looks like it's gonna go sideways. Everything looks.
It's not like it looks like it's going to zero. It just doesn't look like anything. It looks like stagflation, right? A maintenance of relatively high inflation and not huge economic growth, and there you go.
Which also, this show has been nuking the market. Just going to put that out there.
Are we going to zero while we talk?
This is what happens when Don has to focus on something else for 5 minutes. All the bid support just vanishes.
There was something somebody brought up, like saying OP looked like it was going to break out, and that was a funny one to me. I have a hard time looking at something like optimism as like this is what I'm going to buy, even though a daily chart of this looks pretty good. Does look like it might break out. Somebody was saying, how can you ignore this? This was like some suit that Kobe roasted on Twitter, like former Bridgewater. And they were like, people are ignoring the $600 million market cap when Coinbase is about to build everything on it. And Kobe, like, I went and screenshotted CoinGecko and then was about to reply guy to this guy, and Kobe had already better reply guide, and he's like, "Come on, bro, what year is it?" And the FDV of optimism is like higher than Coinbase is. It's like $13 billion FDV.
Great.
Every single one of those investors is thrilled about where optimism is at. Like they are all looking at FDV. So if you, Mr. Sidelines retail investor, are looking at 600 million, like that's exactly what they want you to look at. So congratulations. And while this may be able to break out, I'm not pointing at that and saying, okay, here's another 2 or 3x or some crap out of it, because the FTV just doesn't line up, and those investors are all looking at FTV. So just FYI, like, word of caution in terms of the layer 2 trade. And this isn't the only layer 2 that's going to come out that's going to be that way. Like it's insane.
It's quite sad, honestly. Like the whole FTV thing, just luring people in that don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's not nice. I mean,
And I can like the tech, but I mean, if 5% of the coin is circulating, like I thought this was, the adults in the room layer 2, and we're barely circulating any coins at all. And I don't know. I'm curious when people vest. I hope it's long vesting periods for these, but
yep.
Yeah, before mid curve, right? It's just like chart good, buy, goes to infinity, and meanwhile we're there like, oh, but how do you accrue value in the FDV, etc. I don't think we're there yet in terms of like where we are in the market, but I am skeptical of when to employ that framework in general. I'll try to make sure it's a reasonable time to do so.
If this doubles, fine. But if this doubles, just know, like, you thinking 1.2 billion is still cheap as the FDV does not mean the same thing as what every like vesting investor looks at. Like they're looking at something completely different than you, and they're very happy that you're looking at the circulating market cap.
Yeah. I mean, we're still deep in open bear market, generally speaking, right? I mean, I've had a few people kind of comment on, like, because I've been saying Bitcoin's going to outperform, and I've had a bunch of people be very angry at me and being like, "Oh, but this coin went up and this coin went up." But like in general, like it's not like it's a PvP market, if anything, right? Like a bunch of people that trade altcoins trade against each other, kind of trying to front run the narrative for like 3 days. And I mean, if you look at, I just pulled up Dogecoin just because, I mean, you can see it quite well. Like Elon Musk tries his hardest to pump this thing, and look at it. It's been going down quite hard for quite some time now.
I think relative to BTC, that's going all the way to the bottom.
That'd be quite crazy. But I think long term, yeah, I think the Dogecoin kind of thing has played out. And then we had like Neo. This was like really interesting. We had a massive pump.
Chinese ETH, baby.
It's so fucking stupid. Like this is so stupid. And then it nuked massively. And this is also one that is like having a really nice bounce now. But it's basically like you see these kind of narratives floating around, and it's the only stuff that is actually trading, right? Everything else is just bleeding out. Everything that doesn't have a narrative is bleeding out against Bitcoin. It's not necessarily against USD, right? Most things are like doing okay against USD, given Bitcoin went from 15,700 or something to like 24, 25. So I mean, if you struggle on the USD terms, like your project is kind of shit. But if you cannot like even get close to holding par with Bitcoin, it's just you're holding something shitty as well at the end of the day, or at least something that a lot of people haven't gotten around to yet.
Yeah, you're just early, Don.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Did y'all see the tweets where it was screenshots of a Chinese WeChat, and the author of the tweet was like, this Chinese WeChat's trying to figure out what Americans are thinking about what China thinks, but what China's talking about in the one below that is trying to figure out what America thinks. And it's like this infinite cycle of Eastern and Western traders trying to figure out the narratives of the other part of the globe. And it's so ridiculous.
It's quite funny. I mean, that is like, if you're just like the mid-curve play, I guess, is the one that I employ, which is basically saying this narrative is completely fucking stupid. And the low and high IQ
Then you
is
missed
just
the Neo trade.
yeah, exactly. And I think the low and
could you,
high
Don?
IQ trade is basically just like, I mean, Chinese people are buying, so I'm buying, and like, I mean, fair enough. But I think it's like these kind of narratives usually come up near tops. It's one thing that had me worried at 25K when you get these stupid narratives that like I think make no sense. It's usually around where people are just getting like looking for reasons to go like degen far out on the risk curve.
Unless there's something that even below the memes, there's like some fundamental reason for a real narrative, which
Yeah.
in this case, I don't know if it's real. I don't know how to think about it. It's just there is this out there about Hong Kong potentially transitioning their stance on crypto and like essentially opening up a lot of doors, and that being a vehicle for mainland China as well to be able to speculate in crypto legally and more easily again.
Yeah,
And
temporally that came up after the fact, though. I think,
Yeah.
if memory serves
And I don't know.
correctly,
I'm
which
just
is
saying.
so convenient, right? It's like, okay, we have a very contrived China narrative. Oh, look, some news which can make it appear less contrived than it is in reality. So let's.
And I don't know how
Yeah, it's the name of the
contrived it
game.
is, but that's the thing to consider.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I agree with like a lot of these have been really bad. Like the AI one was
Ugh.
god awful. That one was so bad. And some
But-
people are still hungover from it. They're like, "Oh, AI plus crypto plus NFT is going to change everything." And I'm just like, "You're just a walking 0% interest rate coupon, aren't you? Like, you're not a real person."
Talking to some of Flip's investors, they're like, "You have no idea how many AI pitches we've gotten in the last 30 days."
Man.
It's like people have decks on hand that they just change the narrative at the top of the deck, and then they're like, "Will you give me money for this?"
Yes, it's always the same. It's like real estate, crypto, metaverse, NFT, AI. Like, oh, give me a break, man. Build some conviction, or don't be a mercenary. That's cool too.
What do you want to do with AI and crypto? Like, I don't understand. Like, most of these connections just don't make any sense.
Well, most people don't know what AI is anyway. It's like
I see enough artificial intelligence every time I open Twitter. So, I've had plenty.
Yeah. All right. Any other closing thoughts? What do you, if you forced to choose up or down next week?
Oh, well, that's a hard one, especially at this point in time.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see how the monthly closes, and then, which sounds stupid, but I think like in general, we close above 24 point, like what is this, 3? I think there's resistance up here. And I don't think we're going to go to 32K if we don't. As long as we don't, I mean, it's just shop solidation, I think.
See if we can put 3 more candle bodies within that last candle body. Get people levered up on perps. That's what you really need. You need to see people getting liquidated on like, $3 moves. That's when you know there's finally a good move on the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that happened at like 20K the first time round, right? When we tried to break that. Like we spent so long there because people kept going turbo long at like 19.6, 19.3, 19.2, and then getting liquidated, and we'd sell down and then grind up, and they'd all try to front run the breakout before it came. So I guess there's a lesson there somewhere. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to elucidate it, but whatever. That just sounds like an intelligent thing to say.
Yeah. I think we'll get a little fireworks at the beginning of the month, but I don't actually expect the weekly to show anything too severe. And then I guess if anybody's going to be at ETH Denver, be on the lookout for me. This is me.
If you're nice.
yeah. If you're nice, if you're not going to be a weirdo, then I'd be happy to talk to you. I'm going to be repping Flip stuff at flip.xyz. You should all use it, by the way, just as an FYI. We have no sponsor on the show right now. So, I look forward to meeting people. I think the event looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And all the builders are out. So, yeah. Anything else, Craig?
Nope.
Cool. We'll leave it there. Appreciate y'all. Let you know what narratives I learned, my cringiest moments in Denver, etc. Thanks for joining us. Hit like and subscribe and all that good stuff on the video, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.